The thing nobody talks about in self-improvement is that depending on random bursts of motivation will lead to little to no progress. Instead, you need to go for gradual change and consistency. I'll give you an action plan at the end of this video, but first I need to explain. When you depend on motivation, you sometimes think about your future enjoyment, or in other words, delayed gratification, and sometimes you forget about or ignore your future enjoyment for your current enjoyment, or in other words, instant gratification. When you're doing delayed gratification activities like exercising or working on a business, you're making progress. But when you're doing instant gratification activities like skipping workouts, eating junk food, and watching TV shows, you're losing the same amount of progress. So if half the time you're doing delayed gratification activities and half the time you're doing instant gratification activities, it leads to a net zero and you end up just wasting your time and energy trying to improve. And when I realized this, I started to utilize gradual change and consistency regardless of my emotions to make much more progress. I slowly changed my habits, my schedule, and the activities I did to be better and better for my future self every day. This way I could consistently have days that made my future life better and have practically no days where I lose progress. If you act through your emotions, you'll have many bad days where you do instant gratification activities that make your future life worse. But when you consistently have good days where you do more delayed gratification activities, when you eventually have a bad day, which you always will, it'll not make you lose progress, but rather you'll make a little less progress. But you're still going to make progress regardless. You're still moving in the positive direction instead of staying stagnant or moving in the negative direction. You can't make a huge change and expect it to stick, because when you make that huge change, like making a perfect ideal schedule for the next day or telling yourself you're going to quit a bad habit or go onto monk mode or something, sure, you'll be able to follow it right now due to your high motivation that you have. But when in a couple days or even hours you lose that motivation, you'll go right back to where you started. And then you repeat this over and over and over again, and you wonder why you're not making any progress. There's two reasons why you repeat this over and over again. Number one, you have the ego that you'll have unlimited discipline and you'll be able to magically do whatever you say you do, and you think you'll never lose motivation. But losing motivation is inevitable and it happens to even the best of the best, so you need to account for it. And number two, you can't think long term. You're probably hesitant to try gradual change because it'll take too long, but the truth is that it really takes no longer than a month. In order to be successful, you need to think long term. A good example of this is delaying gratification instead of settling for instant gratification. But you want results right now. You want a perfect schedule right now, and you want to get rid of the bad habits now. But had you made slow, gradual change starting just a month ago instead of trying to make a huge change right away like you've always been doing, you would have already gotten rid of those bad habits, at least for the most part. So you're going to keep wasting time and making no progress if you just keep trying the same thing. So try a gradual approach instead and see what happens. The time is going to pass anyways. Albert Einstein said that insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. What gradual change will do is it will lead to consistency, while instant change will lead you to reverting back to where you started from. You can even see this in other animals. When chefs boil frogs, they put the frog in a pot with room temperature water in it, and then they slowly increase the temperature of the water more and more so the frog doesn't realize that the water is getting hotter. And eventually, the temperature gets hot enough to kill the frog, and once the frog realizes this, it's already too late. But had the chef put the frog immediately into boiling water, the frog would just jump out. Relying on motivation for self-improvement is like repeatedly putting the frog into boiling water and wondering why it keeps jumping out. So what can you actually do about this? Well, I've made a full in-depth guide on how to consistently stick to your ideal schedule in less than a month. Even though it goes in-depth and it tells you everything that you need to know, it's still only 5.5 minutes long because I don't like to waste your time like other self-improvement YouTubers. Only listen to this guide if you seriously want to improve much faster than everyone else. It gives you the easy and actionable step-by-step instructions I used myself to fix my horrible habits and stop having unproductive days. The video is the first link in the description. Scroll down and watch that video right now, and thank you so much for listening.